Hello, welcome to our discussion on exploring the mind of a hothead. I'm sure we've all heard the term of a hothead, which is someone who acts too quickly without thinking of consequences. We'll be discussing understanding on aggression in adulthood. So, our learning objectives today will be to learn what is defined as aggression, what makes someone aggressive, a comparison to the factors of the reasoning that someone does become aggressive, and how that correlates with theories that support said aggression. We will discuss mainly about aggression in adulthood. We're also going to review a case study on a 28-year-old woman named Jennifer Pan who attempted to murder her parents. And lastly, we'll end with ways on how to manage aggression, mainly in adulthood, by discussing aggression versus altruism. Yeah, so let's get started. Before we get started, one of my things I love most is icebreakers. So imagine, if you would, that we all have a canned soda presented in front of us. What I want us to do is go around and share one thing that you feel just is like your trigger or frustrates you the most, and I want you to shake the can really hard. So I'll start it off. What is something that kind of frustrates me the most would be when people ignore me. I just tend to get very upset about that. And also, if I'm thinking of another one, it would be just not being direct with me, like beating around the bush. Just tell me no. Like, I'm a person who says no so I can move on. So if you could imagine, we're going to shake this really hard. And then I want everyone to go around and share one thing that frustrates you and shakes the can really hard. Now, just for time's sake, everyone's done it. So if you were to say who wants to open up the can, I'm sure no one would want to open up the can because it would essentially get everywhere. And I think that's a great description to describe what it means to be aggressive. The term for aggressive is defined as a forceful action or procedure such as an unprovoked attack, especially when intended to dominate or master. The practice of making attacks or encroachments, hostile interest in destructive behavior or outlook, especially when caused by frustration. Take a look. What would cause someone to be aggressive? We now establish the foundational understanding of what aggressive entails. Let's redirect our focus on what may cause such triggers and behaviors. Similar to other expressions and behaviors inherited in human nature, aggression is often viewed as a natural and it's a natural emotion or response. However, there are some discrepancies between emotions and actions that can kind of bring some concern when a person kind of shows like a outrageous emotion or reaction to said thing. This perspective on the triggers of aggression typically revolves around three main areas, and that would be first biological factors such as genetics, hormonal influences, that kind of may be reasonings for aggressive tendencies. These can be inherited traits, which can play a significant role in shaping one's behavior. Secondly, we have psychological factors that kind of goes into the realm of mental health conditions such as bipolar or post-traumatic stress disorders. These conditions can amplify emotional response and potentially lead to aggressive behaviors, which are seen to be as a coping mechanism in the reference of manifestation of internal struggles. Lastly, you have social economic factors, which could be the reason for why someone is aggressive. That could be due to just their cultural norms, economic status, their upbringing. These external factors can significantly impact an individual's views and you know be the reason towards why they are aggressive. Throughout our presentation, we'll dive into each of these factors and discuss various theories that support their role in shaping aggressive behavior. When examining aggression through a biological lens, we view the intricate interplay of genetics, brain functions, and chemical balances, all of which shape an individual's response to various actions. For instance, the widely, held belief that boys are naturally more more rough than girls underscores the influences of genetics and hormones, particularly in testosterone. While testosterone is often associated with aggression, it's crucial to understand that this link is more correlated to causality. Men, on average, exhibit higher levels of testosterone, which is associated with behavioral seeking social dominance, often termed as the macho man ideology that we hear often. Another hormone linked to aggression is serotonin. It's a neurotransmitter regulating mood and emotions, which plays a pivotal role in our body's natural response to just feeling good. Low levels of serotonin are associated with feelings of depression and impulsivity, leading to impulsive acts of violence, as evidenced by studies linking serotonin deficiency to impulsive crimes. Lastly, you have brain structures, which also contribute significantly to aggression seen in human behavior. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision making and impulse control, can exhibit structural and functional abnormalities due to genetic predispositions or, traumatic brain injuries. The case of Phineas Gage exemplifies this, where damage to his frontal cortex led to a drastic shift in behavior from being a kind individual to then displaying aggressive tendencies along with added on alcoholism. Additionally, the amygdala, known for processing emotion and fear, in processing emotions and fear responses, plays a crucial role in regulating aggression. Abnormalities in the amygdala can lead to heightened aggression, as individuals may struggle to regulate their response to fear inducing stimulus. Through understanding biological mechanism, we can gain valuable insight into the complex nature of human aggression, paving the way for more informed interventions and support strategies. We'll touch on is called instinct theory of aggression. This is a theory that was proposed by psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, whose insight into aggression offered a unique perspective. According to Freud, aggression is not merely a surface level behavior, but rather a battle waged within the psyche. It's a clash between two opposing forces. You have life instincts called eros, and then you have death instincts called thenos. Life instincts favors to an angelic characteristics, wanting to embody our desires for growth, procreation, and survival. They represent our aspirations for a healthy, fulfilling life, whereas death instincts encompass risky behaviors, aggression, and self-destructive tendencies. It's like an internal tug of war we face daily, such as myself, who's always craving, a candy bar, even though I'm trying to live a healthy lifestyle and get ready for the summer and, unfat my back. But Freud went on to explain that when these instincts aren't working in unison, it can lead to internal conflict and manifest in aggressive behaviors. He suggested that on an unconscious level, we are drawn towards thoughts of death and destruction, theorizing that the ultimate aim of life is death because death is inevitable. However, he also recognized the counterbalancing force of life instincts, which drive us to want to procreate, learn, and strive for survival. By exploring Freud's theory, we gain insight onto a deeper subconscious motivation underlining aggression and other complex human behaviors. It prompts us to consider the intricate interplay between our drives and external influences shaping our actions and responses. Next, influence of why someone would be aggressive: psychological factors. Psychological factors are closely tied to diagnoses as outlined in DSM-5. Mental health disorders such as bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD, even dementia have been associated with or listed with instances of violent behavior. Now, these conditions can lead to outbursts, which are seen as just coping mechanisms. So when you see someone who is having a manic episode. However, it is seen as more of a coping due to their frustration, and it's just heightened emotion. For instance, individuals with PTSD may experience hypervigilant or paranoia, which can contribute to potential aggression as they react to perceived threats in their environment. I believe I mentioned this earlier. Children who are seen on the spectrum may exhibit self harming behaviors or pose danger to others due to stress stemming from communication difficulties and stress. Moreover, the lack of awareness and understanding surrounding mental health within communities could be the reason that these are issues. Individuals who feel a sense of loss or control or perceived threats may respond aggressively, especially if their condition goes unnoticed or untreated, unrecognizable. However, it's important to note that having a mental disorder does not inherently mean or lead to aggressive behavior, rather that it is just a added on interplay of various factors, including individual experiences, coping mechanisms, environmental influences that contribute to manifestation of aggression in those with psychological disorders. You may be familiar with the phrase read the room, which refers to the ability to observe and adapt to one's environment. This concept was experimentally explored in the 1960s by behavioralist Albert Bourdieu. Through his Bobo doll experiments, which laid the foundation for social learning theory. Bourdieu's research emphasized that how both cognitive and environmental factors play a role in how we learn. He conducted an experiment that consisted of 36 boys and girls aged 3 to 6 years old, dividing them into three separate groups. One group observed aggressive behavior displayed towards the Bobo doll by either a male or female model. Another group observed non-aggressive behavior, and then a control group had not been exposed to any model of aggression. Each child was then placed into a room with a special toy and observed for 20 minutes through a one-way mirror. The results revealed that children who had witnessed aggressive behavior were more likely to exhibit aggression themselves, with boys displaying more physical aggression compared to girls. However, there were little differences in verbal aggression between genders. Vendora's subsequent experiments further supported his theory of observational learning, highlighting the role of imitation in shaping social behavior, including aggression. This theory also shed light on the antisocial effects of observational learning, as evidenced by research indicating that approximately 30% of abused children go on to become abusers themselves in adulthood. Contributing factor to aggression is social economic factors. From this standpoint, it encompasses aspects such as one's residential environment, where did they grow up at, aspects of social network, who are you friends with, cultural conditions, what are your daily habits. The notion being a product of your environment kind of resonates strongly with this type of factor. Individuals raised in neighborhoods plagued by violence and aggression are more likely to exhibit similar behaviors. This idea finds support in correlation between environmental factors such as you know violent crime rates. Research showed that um, a study conducted by Anderson has highlighted a positive correlation between increased temperature and violent crimes. During hot weather, discomfort and frustration levels tend to increase, leading to impulsive actions as individuals struggle to really think clearly. Temperature aggression model does present its discrepancies, as some areas may not have high temperatures, but the crime rates may still increase. However, Anderson, along with Bushman, did develop another theory in 2002 called the general aggression model. This theory composed of including both biological, social, and cognitive factors to reason for aggressive behavior. Without going too deep into this theory, the main takeaway is that input, how we encounter, for example, violent behavior. Maybe you are someone who was raised in a toxic home. And then that kind of shaped your personality. You became insensitive to how you would interpret violent behavior. Does it arouse you or does it frustrate you? It will then determine, your short-term or long-term outcome. Overall, social economic factors plays a significant role in shaping an individual's propensity towards aggression, highlighting the positive correlations noticed between environmental conditions and behavioral responses will help in the long run. We'll briefly discuss its frustration aggression theory. It was proposed by Dollard in 1939. It adds another layer to discussion on aggression, as according to this hypothesis, aggression arises from frustration, which occurs when an individual are blocked from achieving their goals. This frustration can lead to anger, which then can be directed towards a target, resulting in aggressive behavior. Now, Dollar did highlight that potential for misdirected anger, where the aggression is displaced onto a target unrelated to the source of frustration. When you think of a boss and you're unable to express your anger towards them, so you may then go home and take it out on your spouse. You're still releasing that pent up frustration without the risk of potentially losing your job. So this theory does offer insight onto the role of frustration in triggering aggressive behaviors, and how this aggression can be redirected or displaced into an alternative targets that may not necessarily result in harming others or causing issues to arise. I really do find this one to be very spot on when it comes to adulthood, and the aggression that we do see in adults is more common in domestic violence. We had a documentary titled What Jennifer Did, and it detailed the shocking case of a 28-year-old woman named Jennifer Penn, who hired a hitman to kill her parents. Now, Jennifer was raised in a very decent, wealthy, and safe environment. She had parents who were strict, but they just initially wanted the best for her. She was in piano classes, she did figure skating, but she really struggled to meet her parents' expectations, as she wasn't able to really be that straight A student and really meet their expectations of her being a first generation American. This then led to lies, and her rebellious behavior was more so not noticed by her parents. When they did discover of her deceit and hanging out with the guy that they deemed to not be fit for her, they imposed strict restrictions, intensifying her desire to want to escape. In order to escape, she orchestrated a plan with her ex-boyfriend to hire hitmen to come and kill her parents with the hopes of inheriting their estate. However, her father did survive, later revealing the truth behind her actions. Jennifer's story illustrates instrumental aggression driven by the desire to achieve the goal rather than a direct intent to harm. Behavior in light of her family dynamics and personal frustration, it's important to acknowledge the complexity of the situation. While her actions may not be justifiable in the legal or moral sense, they can be understood through a psychosocial perspective, particularly Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. In Erikson's view, personality development occurs over the lifespan. It's broken down into 8 stages. um, with others and the challenges faced at each stage. Jennifer struggled to meet her parents' expectations academically, and her perception of them as being controlling likely impacted her sense of identity and autonomy, particularly during Erikson's preschool stage, which is ages 3 to 6. During this stage, children are learned to assert control over their world. And over controlling parents can lead to feelings of guilt or a compromised sense of confidence. Additionally, Jennifer's desire for intimacy and connections with her boyfriend aligns with Erickson's stage of intimacy versus isolation, which typically occurs in adulthood from ages 20 to early 40s. Feeling stifled by her parents' control, Jennifer sought escape and validation through her relationship, wanting to build a simple life with the partner she thought was the one. While Jennifer's actions may have been driven by a desire of autonomy and intimacy, they ultimately led to tragic consequences. Understanding her behavior through the lens of psychosocial development provides insight to the underlying motivation and challenges she faced in, navigating her relationship and sense of self. So although she did do a bad thing, in hindsight, I can kind of understand what led to her motives. And this is why she is currently serving life without parole. Mental theory relevant to Jennifer's orchestrated crime is operant conditioning, proposed by behavioralist B.F. Skinner. This theory suggests that behaviors are reinforced by rewarding and discouraged by punishment. Skinner focused on observable behavior rather than the internal mental process. In Jennifer's case, her parents punished her for her actions, such as taking away her possessions or driving her to where she needed to go. She often told others she felt like she wasn't trusted by her parents and they just stalked her. This was intended to deter her from dating a boy they perceived as a waste of time. However, instead of seizing her actions, Jennifer became more adaptable at deception. She learned how to create fake diplomas and degrees. Her parents thought she had graduated with a college degree and received funding or gave her, half of her money through an insurance policy because she graduated. She reached adulthood. She still relied on her parents for financial stability. This devised plan to remove them from her life to be with her ex-boyfriend who was beginning to move on from her kind of backfired. Skinner's theory initially seemed effective in curbing Jennifer's behavior through punishment. However, as she grew older, Jennifer's desire to have control over her life and make decisions for herself became the same thing that she wanted to take, which was the positive stimulus of the thing her parent controlled, which was money. This highlights the limitations of using punishment alone to modify behavior, as individuals may find ways to adapt to it in pursuit of their goals. From an outsider's perspective, it might seem as though Jennifer had it easy, just be successful. However, her reality was more complex. From childhood, she repressed her frustration, wanting to be with the boy her parents disapproved of, failing at meeting her parents' expectations academically. I mean, she expressed what she wanted well before this guy entered her life. She said what she wanted to do for school. Her parents tried to control what she went to school for. So what could she have done differently to address this outburst of built up frustration? Although mental services is frowned upon in the Vietnamese community, it would have been ideal to get her into cognitive behavioral therapy services. CBT aims to address dysfunctional emotions and behaviors by fostering healthier thinking patterns. Research shows that effectiveness in reducing anger and aggression, which can escalate in adulthood due to responsibilities like livelihood and life direction. If she had been honest and embraced independency at 28 years old, outcomes may have been different. Reducing adult aggression involves seeking alternative outlets like meditation and therapy. Jennifer's low self-esteem and her parents' disdain on her boyfriend hinted at underlying issues she wasn't able to move on from. If she would have evaluated the relationship and shown empathy for her parents wanting the best for her and not being obsessed with the pizza guy who sells drugs on the side, maybe she wouldn't be in this situation. Let's dive more on empathy as it relates to managing emotion. Manage aggression seen in adults. Let's speak on the opposite of aggression, which is altruism. This is defined as the unselfish concern of other people without gain. Jennifer exemplified a thin line in what altruism versus aggression, because she mentioned in her interrogation that when given the ultimatum to go be with her boyfriend or stay with her family, she had chosen her family. She continued on with this outlook even after high school, that she was living with her parents because she wanted to help take care of them. However, we can see her hidden agenda by unmasking a desire for financial gain, because she promised the hitman that she would get $500,000 once her parents died. When aggression arises in adulthood, it's helpful to find ways to combat with an altruism approach. This involves empathizing with others, putting yourself in their shoes, fostering fostering a community based on cooperation and less self-interest. Jennifer just thought about herself in this entire thing. She never once thought about her mom or her dad, who has now lost the love of his life. I think that reevaluating personal values, unlearning and relearning, becoming your own parent. Jennifer was 28 years old. She had the ability to be on her own. She no longer had to feel like she was still living in control of her parents. That's the beauty of it. I think if she would have looked at it from that perspective, things would have been different. By by combining all of these principles into intervention at the individual, interpersonal, and social levels, it's possible to create environments that foster altruism and reduce the prevalence of aggressive behavior seen in adults. In this presentation, we've learned a lot today. We've learned that biological, psychological, and social economics are factors that contribute to why someone's aggressive. We've learned, what aggression looks like in adulthood and what are ways to manage aggression. When we think about Jennifer Pan, you were born looking like your mother and father, but you die looking like your decisions. So if we go back to that can that we shook in the beginning, how much easier would it have been if we would have just opened it versus leaving things within? And then he ends up losing in the end. So I hope that you take from this the importance of empathy and finding new ways to redirect your frustration when you feel it. And above all, try therapy. Thank you and have a good day.